opinion, what is worse, comic breakup or a romantic breakup?
Definitely romance.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
How did you pick that one?
The sexual,
Physical.
aspect,
Mm-hmm.
the physical. Exactly. So you're so intertwined with that person.
Right.
If you believe in like soul ties and stuff like that, you
I
pick
do.
up a lot from that person, and then you become used to them. Like you
Right.
typically spend more time with your romantic partner than you do with your friends, even if you spend a lot of time with your friends.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. For me, I feel like a platonic relationship because I feel like my friends turn into family. So when it goes bad, it's like it's really hard for me. Like I think for a romantic relationship, I'm already expecting them to do something. I'm like, okay, he gonna
Right.
mess up.
Right.
But your friend, it's like that's a hurt piece. Like,
Yeah.
wow, sis, you did me like that.
Our experiences shape our perspective, right? So I think just with me moving around a lot, just growing up, always being the new girl in school, I never really created super bonds with
Got it.
females. You know what I mean? So not to say the girls that I did end up, friends with, I didn't bond with, because I did. And they
Right.
hurt, but just not in that way. But it's just
Got
based
it.
on my experience. So
That
I
makes
could
sense.
see why somebody else, and I would dream to like have had that, but I didn't.
That makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
In your opinion, why do you think it's hard for your partner to support you in your business? Do you think that's hard for some men or even some females to support their significant other?
Yeah. I think probably number one would be like just that intimidation factor, especially for, I'm a woman, so I can only speak from my perspective. We always kind of date and we're too good in a sense, like, right? So, and men know that, right? Know your potential, and they're already so insecure, like, dang, is she going to leave me? So when you start to like level up, it's kind of an intimidation factor, and it's scary for them because they might feel like she's going to find out that she's worth something.
Why do you think it's hard for friends to support their other friends?
Yeah.
In your opinion?
Sort of kind of the same concept where they feel like they're going to grow and be left behind, right? It's all a self thing for that person who is lacking the support. They may not feel worthy, right? So if you lack self-worth, then you may feel like somebody's going to grow beyond you and not take you with them. That's one aspect, especially with like females.
Right.
It's a lot of competition. So if you don't have no motion, sometimes that jealousy, might not even be the fact that you feel like she's going to outgrow you, but you may just be jealous, period, because you don't have nothing going on. If that's the case.
If that's the case.
And then if you do have something going on, sometimes people want all that shine for themselves. So it's hard to share the spotlight.
Speaking of jealousy, how can you tell when a friend is jealous of you?
Well, I would say, number one, their responses, right? So like if you share good news and their response is just kind of like, oh, or they're not hyped for you, like, not giving you the same energy. Right. That's a telltale. I mean, that's like one of the most clear. And then if they find it hard to like show up for you, if you have a grand opening and they may not come, or different birthday parties or celebratory events and they're not showing up, clearly, yeah.
Do you think it's important to set boundaries in friendships and in romantic relationships?
Absolutely.
Why do you think so?
Because you have to teach people how to treat you, right? Everybody have their own love languages and things that they're used to based on their experiences. So if you don't set the tone for like what you're going for and what you're not going for, then how is anybody going to gauge that? How are you going to really get the respect that you deserve if you don't lay that foundation and say, okay, I'm not going for this?
When do you think it's a good time to say, okay, this relationship or friendship has ran its course?
I think when you find yourself just having those feelings of like that not being supportive, or you're sad a lot of times, feeling down, if your energy feels depleted when you're around them,
That's
right?
so important to me.
Yeah, exactly. So taking inventory, like if you just don't feel good with them, that's probably a good sign.
Right.
Another one may be like if so much damage has been done, right? So if you find yourself in a situation where you've forgiven a lot of times. Like, you've forgiven. And I've found myself in a situation like this before with my ex. It's like, we went through so much, and then when he got to a point where he was kind of ready to change, it was hard because nobody's perfect, right? So it's like, you can't even make a little mistake because you are already, you know what I mean? So, and that's not fair. So I was adult enough to be like, you know what? You deserve to meet somebody in this new space that you're in, because we already have so much history, and it's hard for me to, you know, I accept this and I believe the change, but now one little move you make, and because it's a trauma response, I'm still, you know, even though I might have forgiven or whatever, I'm moving forward. I've grown, you've grown, all this stuff. It's like there's no room for error, and that's just not real life, because people, you know, do tend to make errors. And even if they don't, the slightest irregularity in their routine, you thinking like, oh no, you doing something, you're up to something. And that's not fair. So I feel like when you get to that point, you know, you got to allow people to kind of live in the now of who they are without your kind of responses to them too. And that's kind of accountability for, like, on our part. Yeah.
I love that you say that, and I respect the fact that you let him know, like, this isn't going to work out, instead of leading him on.
Yeah.
That was important.
Yeah, for sure.
What areas can you improve as a friend? Because I think sometimes we often think that we're the better friend.
I'm not the best friend, and I just know that about myself.
Why?
And like I said earlier, deeply I am, but what the world perceives as a good friend, right? Because I love my solitude. I'm very self-aware, and I'm always like assessing, spending time, you know, trying to sort myself out. And I don't like to put those energies in certain spaces. And life is constant, because I'm very emotional. I'm a feeler. Even though, like, I'm hard and I'm assertive and all these other things, I also feel everything. So I found myself in a lot of moments where it's like, I just need my solitude. So I'm not somebody that's going to always show up. So you might look at your life and be like, I said an example earlier where it's like, how could you tell if your friends isn't supporting you if they're not there? So, I mean, that's one, but honestly, it's not always, but it depends on who that person is. We have to take into account who that person is. Because for me, I might not always show up because I put myself first. I do. And I think a lot of times in friendships, people tend to put others before them.
That's true.
And as much as I used to want to change that about me, I realized that it was a strength when I have conversations with so many other people, and they be like, I wish I was like you. I wish I could say no. I wish I could, you know, and I'm like, ooh, so I'm doing a good thing. I'm putting me first. Like, you know, I'm not being depleted. I'm not going out my way. If I'm tired, I'm tired. You know, it's just hard for me to go against what I naturally feel in order to show up for somebody. And that's what I feel. I mean, that's not always the best. I'm not saying that's the best thing. It's the best for me, you know, but that's what maybe doesn't qualify me in the standard of, you know, the world.
I respect that. But see, I feel like you need to know your friend. If you know your friend, she likes to have her alone time. So she might not always show up for me. So I think some people forget that their friends are a certain way, and they need to respect that.
Exactly.
They kind of tend to make excuses like, oh, she ain't showing up for me. And it's like, no, you know, she in her mood. Let her go.
Exactly. That's me. And those are the people that are my people. You know what I'm saying? Because that is me. But you know what? You pick up the phone, you call me, I'm always there. If you really need me, I'm there. I'm like a big deal type of person. I'm not like a small deal type of person. I'm a solution person. I'm a praying person. So it's just like, call me when we really got some work to do. Call me when you need to work something out. Call me when there ain't nobody else you could call. I'm like that realness. So the surface level stuff, but that's what people really value in friendships.
What are some signs that a man is truly in love with you, in your opinion?
Because I have a beautiful relationship right now.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yes. Some signs where, you know, a man is really in love with you. I mean, when he kind of regurgitate a lot of the things that you've said to him to let you know that he's listening to you, right? When he's doing little things that also indicate that he's heard you, right? What do I like? You're doing things that I like. or even just by paying attention to you. You might not even have to say it, but like, I know this is how you are. You know, you be in the house a lot, so we're going to cook, or, you know, just really paying attention to who you are and not so much trying to fit you into their world so much. Because I feel like a lot of guys, they try to fit women into their world, and they don't always come into our world. So a lot of time women lose themselves more often than men lose themselves in relationships, I feel like. Not saying that there's not instances where men lose themselves, because there are, you know, but
most of the time
women lose themselves in relationships because they're trying to show up for a man and kind of insert themselves into his life. So that's one, you know, when a man more so is interested in your world and like coming into your world and being like, what we got going on here? Like, how can I support you? You know, and actually being supportive, being resourceful, you know, giving you advice, sharpening you, you know, showing that he wants the best for you. That's love. Because versus the instance earlier where it was like, if a man's not supporting you because of the insecurities, that lets you know that he's not an insecure man. He wants to see you do good, you know, because he's going to continue to inspire you and motivate you and encourage you, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So that to me shows love. And then being patient, because when you're learning a new relationship, right, it involves a lot of patience, because we all have our own triggers and past situations. So to give a person a chance to like fully come into trust with you is a big thing, because I've dealt with guys in the past who really, they don't have that same type of patience. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh, you expect me to kind of heal you from something you've been through in the past. It's like, well, no, but I do need reassurance. I do need you to reassure me that you're not going to hurt me in this way. Not that you're paying for what somebody else did to me, but let's face it, I went through this. So this is me. Like, so you got to have that patience. So somebody who has that, I feel like it's real love.
Learning each other, so that takes time as well. Do you believe that there's an expiration on love?
Yeah.
Why do you think so?
Well, no. Expiration on the type of love, right? So you may not love somebody in the same way that you once loved them, right? But there is always that love for them. Like, I care about what happens to you. Like, you might have loved somebody, they did something to you, you hated them, years down the line they passed away, you might shed a tear. You know, you might, like, it's just like, oh wow, like, I couldn't stand you, but I'm sorry that happened to you. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're an empathetic, compassionate type of person, you know what I mean? So I can only speak from that. Like, yeah, I don't feel like it expires. Yeah, it's just the way that you love somebody does. You know what I mean?
I love how you did that. Yeah. Let's talk about your businesses. So as a lash technician and instructor, you make women feel confident and beautiful. What do the beautiful Shalaia do when she doesn't feel confident?
Oh, that's a good one. You know what? I think similar to most women, you know, we get our hair done, we get our nails done, we dress up. You know, when you look good, you do feel good. That's the thing, right? And then also that solitude piece, you know, if I'm not, then I go inward. I'm like, well, what's going on with me? I'm very self-aware. I'm such an advocate for self-awareness.
I can tell.
Knowing who you are and kind of, you know, like figuring yourself out and taking that inventory of how you're feeling and when you're feeling what you're feeling and all that stuff. So if I'm not feeling confident, I'm like, well, what is it? You know, because maybe I have to fix something. You know what I mean? So I think that's one thing that I do love about myself is that at this point in my life, I don't sit in any emotions. You know, I'm always like, okay, well, how could this serve me? Like, what is this trying to tell me? You know, like that. And then I just get to the root of the problem. Because it's always a root, you know.
That's important. So you're saying you try to get to the root of why you're not feeling confident.
When I don't feel confident, when I don't feel whatever, you know, because that's important. We might not realize that it could be rejection. Some women go through a period of not feeling confident because they've been rejected, you know, like if you're in a dating phase in your life and it may not be working out. You might have went on a date, a couple days with a guy that you liked and he's rejecting you. That plays on your confidence, right? So
that's true.
it's not that you're not confident. What is it? The root is you're being rejected. So now you have to deal with that rejection and learn how to be okay with things. So it's never just what's there.
Oh man, I just love you.
Yeah.
So you are the founder of Blink Fly Beauty Lounge and Academy.
Yes.
What inspired you to start your business?
Okay, so the short version of that is I was in nursing school when I started doing lashes. I was working under someone else, and I feel like they kind of got intimidated by the popularity that I gained. Like, I wasn't licensed originally whenever I started doing lashes. I was just doing it on the side to get through nursing school, right? Because I had to do clinicals and I had my son at the time, so I had to get rid of my day job. So what happened was, being that when I started doing lashes, there was not a lot of lash artists, period. Like, I kind of was like one of the people who popularized it and like helped, push it forward in our space in Pittsburgh. In the urban community especially, that allowed me to like really dominate at the time. So I got a lot of clients really fast. And so it was booming. So what happened was she kind of like changed her password on me because I was getting my products through her because she was licensed. And at the time you had to like enter your license information in order to get those products, right? Now you can get them. But at the time you couldn't. So, and I was booked and busy. One day I logged on to like get products and the passwords changed. So I hit her, I'm like, something's going on. And she's like, well, I changed it because I kind of want to keep business and friendship separated, da-da-da-da. And it just, I'm like, if you think we're going to be friends after this, you are sadly mistaken because you just cut me off. Like, there was no conversation. I just felt like the better way to handle that. If you wanted to do that, I respect it. That's you. But I would have respected it more if it was kind of like, hey, I do want to keep this separate. If you need to get some things, get what you need to get now, and then try to figure out what you're going to do. And she was my mentor in that space. So she didn't even kind of lead me to like, well, you could get products from here or you could do this. So I just kind of was like left. And just me, the type of personality that I have, I was like, oh, okay, I'm never going to go through this again. So I like went to Alibaba and got my own lashes. Like, I got my own vendor. I was selling lashes at the time. This was my first like 6 months.
You're like,
so I didn't even go find another company. I went to the source. Like, I went to a manufacturer. And from there, it just developed into that. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm not working for her anymore. So I told my mom everything that was happening. So I was like, well, I need a name, and she came up with Blink Fly. And honestly, everything kind of happened organically. Like, I didn't set out when I started doing lashes to own a business. I wanted to be a nurse, I felt like I had a calling because I'm very compassionate and stuff like that. So I was like, nursing is a calling. And, on my YouTube, it was just all type of nursing stuff, and I was happy. Like, I had finally found like the thing that I felt like I was going to do. So that's where I was at. But naturally, God had the other plans. And I just continued to flow into each season. And
you just dominated.
Now it's here.
You realize that there was other ways to show compassion, not just in nursing.
Right.
So you're saying your mom came up with the name Blink Fly. Shout out to Tony.
I know, right? She did.
Nice.
Yeah, I would love to take credit. But no, she had wrote down a list of just all these variations of stuff. And when she said that, I was like, I like that. And the guy I was dating at the time, he was like, that sounds ghetto. Like, and I was like, well, that's what sells. I was like, because Cardi B was like coming out at the time. This was right before Bodak, like when she just had her moment.
So
I'm like, people love ghetto. Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, and that's who I am. Like, I'm from the project, but I'm classy. And so I didn't initially even get the response, but I went with it anyway. I believed in it. And other people, they're like, I love that name. So.
Yeah, so wow, the story behind it is awesome. What service and products do you have at your salon?
Basically eyelash extensions, eyebrow artistry. I did have facials for a while. We kind of stopped it, but we're picking that back up with the new employee that I hired, as well as we sell fans, mini fans, like
to see that on your website.
Dry your lashes after you cleanse them. We sell lash cleanser. We sell eyelash serum to grow your lashes and strengthen your natural lashes, because we believe in natural lash health, right?
Which
so we're not like just slapping lashes on you, doing whatever, we're making sure that if you wanted to take a break, you still have lashes.
Right.
That's important to us. So we do sell lash serum. What else do we sell? Everything that pretty much goes in my academy kits, I sell. Tweezers, mannequin heads, microfiber brushes, the mascara brushes, like everything. We have that. And then, because I know, let's get into it. So you're getting exclusive. Like I said, I haven't told anybody about these yet, but I'm dropping them on Mother's Day. So
perfect.
It's only, 2 weeks? So candles. In my space, we love to set the vibe. When people come in, they're just like loving the vibes. And it is an energy, important. Right? But I pray over my business. I do all the things. And even before because I recently surrendered my life to Christ and got baptized and all that stuff. So, but prior to that, I was into like crystal healing work and a lot of the modern day stuff that you see a lot of people into. I got into it about 2015. So I've been doing kind of the ritual baths and moon healing and all this stuff that we see a lot of now. Prior to me, like, per se praying over my business, I would put crystals everywhere and just kind of sage and do all that stuff. So, which set a nice tone as well at that, time. But since I've been delivered, I have found that that's not really something that I want to kind of tamper in, and Jesus is all I need. So, I got rid of all that stuff and I just anoint my space, pray over my space, pray over the chairs that the women sit on when they come in, pray over my staff, and that's what I do. So I feel like it does protect the energy that comes into my space, so we keep it very welcoming. And another way that we do that is by burning candles, because candles is a vibe, right? And then it keeps a nice scent. So instead of using like plugins and stuff like that, we just keep a candle burning all day. So when you walk in, people's always like, oh my God, it smells so good. So we were using this one candle. I'm not going to say the name, but it did smell really good. And we were getting it from Target. So now every time we go to the Target by the salon, they're sold out. It's like the girls are selling out the candles. So I was like, you know what? So my employee actually, Dawn, shout out to Dawn, we love her. She suggested, she was like, why don't you do like a partnership? And like collab. And originally she was saying to sell somebody's candles in the shop who has a candle line. That was her kind of vision. And then I took it a step further. So I reached out to someone. She has Bliss 23 is her company. And so we did a partnership. So they smell so good. Smell that. So that one's Jesus and Therapy. Doesn't smell nice? Yes. So it's Jesus and Therapy, right? And you have all the scents on there. So I figured, let's just do a partnership. That way, I pay her up front to manufacture them, to do them, and then they're mine, right? But they are in her brand. I came up with the names. I came up with like a collab. Yes, yeah. So I came up with the scents, and I love this one. This is Jesus and Therapy. Let me see. And then we have Blink and Dream. Of course, I had to add Blink in there.
I like that name.
Right. That's Blink and Dream. Don't that smell nice?
How much are these candles?
So individually, they're $20. And then you can buy them as a set, and then you get $10 off. So if you buy it as a set of 2, it's $40. As a set of 3, it's $45. And this one is pretty on the inside. So what I love, which is why I reached out to JT, because with her candles, what she does is she writes in like, they're not scents, but it's just what the candle represents. So I like that. So I wanted to come up with my own, so I did. So the Blink and Dream, it has lemon, then it says meditation, pink sands, hid in the clouds, and fresh linen. So it has the scent, but then also kind of instruction of like what the candle represents.
I love that.
So with Jesus in Therapy, it's Jupiter berry, prayer, Egyptian musk, Proverbs 1:5, which is just about like taking direction and wise counsel. Right. So it's about wise counsel. Oh, Proverbs 1.5 or 1:5, sorry. And then vanilla bean.
Okay.
And then the pretty on the inside, hibiscus guava, manifesting peace, raspberry, happy girls are the prettiest, and plumeria. So I like that. So that's why I wanted to go with her line and then just create my own.
Right. Because it's a collab. Where can we buy your products? The candles, everything.
Yeah, so you could come into my shop, which is in Murraysville, or on our website, blinkfly.com. Yep, everything's online, and these will be added. Like I said, I'm launching Mother's Day. Yeah.
Okay, so we got the exclusive.
This is the first time anybody's hearing about this, so I know. The exclusive, yes.
I love that. How do you make your clients feel comfortable? Because I know when I got my lashes done before, it's like a 2-hour session that I was falling asleep. Like, how do you keep them comfortable during that time?
So like I said before, setting the environment. So that's number one already, because when you walk in, it's a comforting environment. We have recliners instead of tables, which a lot of lash studios now do have recliners. So that's kind of already. But a lot of people still do just like the massage tables. So already that's like recliner, more comfortable. And then our recliners are more comfortable because I only had to get 2 chairs. So I got like really quality chairs. So they're pretty plush. They're nice. That, and then the like the music or the selection of podcasts that we listen to and things like that, which is always motivating, inspiring, uplifting. We keep that vibe, you know what I mean? To where you're going to come in and you're going to get something. So it makes people comfortable not only during the service, but also comfortable enough to start to pour out. And you know what I mean? Have that lash therapy, you know, and know that it's a safe space.
That's important. What is next for the beautiful Shalaia Green? So you talked about your candles. I know you got something brewing.
I do. You know what? But at the same time, I could say like my idea of what's next, but I've surrendered my life to Christ. And every day I'm just like, reveal yourself to me. Reveal what you want me to do. Because I do have all these gifts, right? And I just want to make sure I'm using it for my purpose, you know, and using it to glorify God, you know, not just myself, not being in vanity, you know, creating like a ministry pretty much, you know, not like I want to go be a preacher, but just like my ministry, like these candles, that's a ministry. Jesus and Pray, pretty on the inside. Like I'm just really promoting self-love, but not in the idolatry way, you know, in a way that God first, and through him, you know, I love myself because I'm made in his image type of vibe. Because that self-love train could get very toxic. You know what I'm saying?
It's a long journey.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, I have a youth empowerment program though that I am doing right now. We are with Woodland Hills High School, which I got plugged in that through my brother Leon.
To Leon.
Exactly. So they had approached him to do it for the guys there, but then they asked him like, hey, do you have a woman? Because we would like, you know, to have something for the young ladies. So naturally he reached out to me and I took it and blew them away. So originally I was just set to be under his mentorship program, the Leon Ford mentorship program. But I'm such a thorough person that I put together a whole like PowerPoint and packet and all this stuff. And they were like, this is a whole program within itself. So literally the first day that we went, because we had went up to the school, it was me, him, and the other mentors, the male mentors that he had. And when I presented, the principal literally afterwards pulled me to the side and she was like, how do you feel about presenting your program to the board? And I was like, really?
Let's go.
Exactly. So I asked Leon, you know, naturally, because he brought me in. So just as I'm like, what do you think about this? Like,
right, you cool with this?
Of course. He's like, take it, go for it. This is what I do this for. So I was like, okay, great. And I kind of fine-tuned my presentation. We went in front of the board. They got a grant for it. Well, I'm lying. I was supposed to go in the front of the board. I went in front of the two principals, the assistant superintendent, and then they had a person from Allegheny Intermediate, which provides grants to different programs. So I had to pass that with the assistant superintendent because the board consists of the superintendent and everybody else on the board. So passed that with flying colors. They're so excited about the program. So now I go in front of the board in this next coming week. And what they're trying to do is get me on for a 3-year contract. Right. So major.
God blessing you already.
I know, girl. And it's like purpose driven. I love it, you know, because I really get to pour into the youth and get them before they even go out, you know, into the world, just understanding themselves, self-awareness, confidence building, you know, relationship building, perception, how people perceive you, how to show up in the world, your personal brand. I feel like everybody needs a personal brand, and not for the sake of like promoting a brand, but you are your brand. Like regardless if you have a business, if you're doing anything, how are you showing up? How do you make people feel? You know, are you a person of integrity? Are you a person who, you know, keeps their word, is trustworthy? All these, you know, things that just make up a stellar human. In whatever it is you do, whether it's business or a professional or if you're flipping burgers, whatever, like you still have to have a certain, you know, thing about you as a human that just makes you well-rounded. So that's what I'm teaching them. That's what my whole program is about. Okay.
Like you're kind of mentoring these kids.
Yeah, we're mentoring. And so there's that. And then also I'm creating a business with my little sister, Jordan. Okay. She's in Atlanta right now. She's actually working at a salon down there and being blessed. She went to school for communications. So she's kind of doing some media work down there, but she does here. And
she's doing her thing.
Yeah, she's doing her thing, right? So I don't want to let that out the bag, but we are starting a sister company together. So we have something coming. I don't know how she feels about me talking about it because she presented it to me, you know, and then we're just doing it together. But we'll be releasing that soon. So we have something coming up, and it's for women. It's for women. We hate the term really empowerment because it has been because I feel like the whole women empowerment movement, it's kind of toxic, actually. Like a lot of the women empowerment faces, they don't really truly promote that. You know what I mean? When you really deal with them, you know, there's a lot of cattiness, there's a lot of favoritism. They're not really sharing resources like they say they want to. It's money driven, you know. It's just,
so and we all want to be fake,
like it's not in a way. Yeah, that's been the experience.
Do you think that's kind of like in the city type of thing, or do you think that's like
everywhere? No, it's everywhere. Yeah, because part of it has really been not even in the city. A lot has come from outside sources, you know what I mean? Because like with her in Atlanta, like she's more so, I've been kind of felt that way, but Jordan, she's like a butterfly, right? Like me, I'm reclusive at my solitude, and she's like out there, right? And people might perceive me that way, but I'm not. So she's always had that hope, like, yeah, they do. They want to help and right? And I just let her do her thing. But now that she's in Atlanta and she's in like a bigger pool, she's working on this at 11 hip hop and all these things. So she's really in the in crowd. So what the girls see on social media and what they kind of want to be a part of, in a sense, she's a part of it, and now she's really seeing. When before she was on the outside looking in, she's like, I gotta, you know, and then now she's like, this is fake as heck, you know? Yeah. So she's seeing it for herself too. So we want to change that. We want to really be, you know, people who genuinely do help. You know, even if we don't benefit from it. So just paying it forward, you know, giving the advice of the trials that we've been through, what's worked, what hasn't worked, this and that. Just helping people, you know, avoid those pitfalls if they can, or at least have the tools, you know, to know how to navigate in entrepreneurship, you know. Yeah.
I love that because that's important. Yeah, because like you said, a lot of people, I feel like they come off very inspirational and things like that. And you get to know them, and you're like, sis, this ain't what you preaching.
Yeah. Granted, you know, people have seasons. So
Right.
it could also be a situation where you caught somebody in a bad moment at a bad time. So I do like to give people grace, and people can change. But at the same time, our experiences are our experiences. That's why it is important for us to show up our best all the time, because you don't want to leave somebody with that, because now that's my experience of you. So even though I give you grace, this is the account that I have. I may have, you know, rub people wrong at times too.
Right.
And that could be their account, you know. But yeah, no more.
You're like, no more of that fiction. All right. Let's leave off with an inspirational speech quote, because I see you on Instagram, you know, doing your thing. So inspire the ladies with something.
I think what I will say is trust your gut. I know, I mean, as cliche as that might sound, because we always hear that, trust your gut, trust your gut. Your gut is the voice of God. So anything leading you away from something or to something, lean into that or lean away from that. You know what I mean? Because God's always speaking to us, even if we're not living right, you know, and that voice is more important even when we're not living right, because he's trying to steer us right. So we have to do that. Yeah, if he's calling you out of a relationship, leave that relationship. You know, he will restore you. I think people are so afraid that they're going to lose something, right? But if God's calling you out of a season and out of a situation, that means he has something better for you. And you might have to suffer for a period of time, but you have to endure, you know. So don't avoid that endurance, because the quicker you go through it, the quicker you'll be through it, and the quicker you'll get to that next thing that's for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that, I feel like, is so important. That's probably like the most important, because people say places far too long.
Yes. As an adult, I'm kind of actually learning that, like, maybe that's not for you. So that's, I love that. Thank you for coming. I love your perspective on everything. And you seem so happy and just,
Thank you.
I love your spirit.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you the best.
Thank you so much, Court. That's like the best compliment you can have.
About your spirit, right? The way you carry yourself.
Yeah, I have the same thing. You've always been
you.
very angelic, you know.
To myself.
Neutral. Yeah, that's
good.
Very, yeah, you know what I mean?
Love to see you bossing up. Keep shining, boo.
Period. You too.